Hello. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our panel on threats and opportunities in immigration. So my name is Zan Ali. I'm the CEO of Centuro Global, where we offer immigration, legal, and tax services powered by AI. And I'm delighted to be joined today by some of the best in the business. So up first, we have Faisal Adas, Vice President of Arabian Business Innovation Services. If you were to ask AI to depict work hard, play hard in the realm of global mobility, you'd probably get Faisal's portrait. He is the perfect bridge between working hard, dedication, and having fun. In the middle, we have Nihat Kurt, the co-founder of Expat Management Group. Now, Nihat is one of the sharpest men in immigration, as I'm sure you can all see. In fact, it's rumored that he was the inspiration for the character of Harvey Specter in Suits. And last, but absolutely not least, we have Charina Garcia. She is the Strategy and Innovation Partner at WR Immigration, heading up the Northern California offices. And she's probably the only immigration lawyer in the world that I'm aware of that has leveraged the game of bingo to build a highly effective team. And it is her experience in this that we're going to be experiencing today, because we are going to be playing bingo. So Charina, would you like to explain the rules to everybody?
Yeah, so we were told we wanted an interactive panel and we wanted to keep you engaged. So the way to keep you engaged is to play bingo. And so the way we're going to play bingo is as we're speaking, you're going to hear some of the words. And as you hear the words, you can mark it on your bingo card. And it can be a vertical line, a horizontal line, a diagonal. So if you're familiar with bingo, just make sure you have your bingo card. We will have multiple winners. We will just keep going and going and going. And so when you have a bingo, just yell bingo. And then Marie will come over and give you a prize. I brought Hawaiian chocolates. Nihat, what did you bring?
I don't remember anymore. I have Belgian chocolates from Amsterdam.
And then Faisal, what did you bring?
I brought a handmade soap made in Saudi Arabia and a deodorant forever.
And I bought the best of British chocolate, which is actually Belgian chocolate made in China.
All right, so I'm going to give you, we're going to practice right now, okay? So I'm going to say the word and you mark it. So the word I'm going to say is free space. So everyone gets free space, okay? We got it all? All right, let's play some bingo and listen about threats and opportunities.
Okay, awesome. So the way we've structured today's talk is, as a panel, we've come up with 3 major threats in immigration. And each of those threats comes with opportunities. So we split the talk into 3 parts where we'll take each threat one by one. So in other words, we're going to discuss how you can turn red tape into red carpet. Hopefully there won't be any more bad jokes. Okay, let's kick off with threat number 1. So threat number 1, ever-changing immigration laws and regulatory compliance. So we're about a third of the way through 2024, and a lot of immigration laws have already changed around the world. In the UK, for example, the minimum salary threshold for skilled workers has increased, causing all sorts of ripples. I don't know if you all saw, but KPMG have withdrawn a number of graduate offers. Pretty sad. And in Spain, there's rumors that the golden visa is coming to an end. Hungary is introducing a new golden visa. So there's a lot of laws, a lot of changes. It's very hard to keep up. And everyone's aware, everyone's talking about the fact that 2024 is one of the biggest global election years in history, or at least in the last 60 years. You've got elections in the US, India, the UK, Mexico, Nigeria, and immigration is always a hot topic, so there's probably lots of changes to come, especially if Trump comes back into power. So we're going to start with a poll. So I'm sure you guys are all already logged into Slido from the last panel, but just in case, if you can scan that. So the first question we have for you is, do you believe that current immigration laws in your jurisdiction are clear and accessible to non-experts? So emphasis on non-experts.
100%.
Okay, well, that's the answer I was hoping for. So we've got around 91% no. So with that, I'm going to ask Nihat the first question. What is a common misunderstanding about European immigration laws that you've encountered with your clients, Nihat?
Yeah, thank you, Zain. So maybe to start, I'm a lecturer at Erasmus University, lecturing Global Mobility Master, and one of the topics in that master program is European immigration law. We have a topic, social security, tax, employment law. So I'm considered the European law expert. And one of the things we see in European law is it's often perceived by non-Europeans as a harmonized ruling. But so maybe to explain a little bit about how European law works, just quickly, is so we have two formal legal methods in Europe. One of them is a regulation, and the other one is a directive. So if you talk about a regulation, so think about the GDPR, that's a regulation instantly applicable after it has been signed, no room for interpretation, all member states apply for the same. And if we look at what a directive is, a directive allows a framework for a lot of countries for interpretation. There's timing that you need to implement the directive, generally 2 years into your national legislation. So if we think about directives, which ones would come to our mind? We would have the Blue Card Directive, bingo, no? We have the Blue Card Directive, we have the Postal Worker Directive, obviously, and the Blue Card Directive has recently been amended. So, but imagine you have room for interpretation. That means 31 different interpretation of the Postal Workers Directive. So I would definitely say, clients or our partners may perceive that European law is harmonized, but actually it's not, because countries would like to have a saying on their national labor markets. So yeah, often we see it's, if you don't plan it with a local expert, then you underestimate processing times, you underestimate document complexity, or in one country a spouse can work, in the other European country a spouse cannot automatically work. So this is generally perceived, underestimated, I would say, by my clients. Yeah.
Okay, great. And we were talking earlier, and you mentioned that in the Netherlands, there's been a recent uptake in the number of audits that the authorities are conducting on immigration license holders. So, clients are under new pressures. I mean, can you explain a little bit more about why that is?
Yeah, maybe a little bit background information. So in the Netherlands, like in other countries, you need to have an immigration license for an employer to sponsor non-EU nationals. So in the Netherlands, that's called a recognized sponsorship status. We have around 10,000 of them, and all of them will one day be audited. I remember 2 months ago, I went with also Dominic, my partner here, to, upon invitation by the authorities, they say, okay, we have this plan. There's a lot of misuse of the EOR in the Netherlands. They ask for opinion about the changes they would like to do. So we asked them, why are you changing the rule? So with EOR, there's a little confusion about who's the real employer. So is it the hiring client? Is it your employer you have a legal employment contract with? So there's a lot of misuse about supervision, control, about was that. And so we went to give our opinion, and we asked the question, why are you asking, why are you changing? So apparently it was some people were on the sanction list from Russia, Belarus, that were actually hired by an employer of record working for different companies. So the authorities didn't have any control about who entered the country. So they found some names there. And so it's, so we're talking with our clients, obviously, about these topics, but the employer of record option is under scrutiny in the Netherlands because of the misuse. Yeah.
Just to add one thing regarding employer of record. Well, in Saudi, we had the same, not people under sanction, but a lot of misuse of the employer of record. And our organization, one of the services that we offer is employer of record in Saudi. And in Saudi, it's regulated, so you have to register the contract of the employer of record with the Ministry of Human Resources or the Ministry of Labor in order for you to provide that service to employ somebody on behalf of someone else.
I mean, employer of record is a very interesting kind of area. So we talked about political changes, regulatory changes, but the employer of record industry really exploded post-COVID, I would say. So even a business industry is kind of disrupting what's allowed, what isn't, and getting people thinking. I mean, I've always kind of seen it as a loophole in a way. Hey, hire people without setting up an entity. I mean, what do you guys think?
No, not only without setting up an entity, because you also can find a way to avoid localization. Like in Saudi, there's a high percent. They're increasing the percentage of localization where you need to employ a certain number of Saudis. in the entity, and by using an employer of record. At the moment, it's not really linked, even if you have an entity, and I'm providing that entity an employer of record contract under the ministry AGIR program, it's not yet count as, for them, it's count under my name as I'm employing a foreigner. So it's a loophole to avoid
Yeah.
localization.
And I
Not only setting up an entity, which is an expensive thing to do in Saudi. If you want to set up a new entity, it's not cheap compared to the neighboring Dubai or the UAE.
We see in practice that it is a loophole, like an escape for self-employed, that it's very difficult in the Netherlands to get a self-employed visa because of the business plan, investments you need to do. So what happens is they go to this EOR and they pay some amount, and then the EOR gets them an employment visa, and then they work in their own company. So the authorities are very much aware of this issue now and are really putting some pressure now to change it. Yeah.
Yeah. And Faisal, so Saudi Arabia is obviously booming at the moment. The Middle East as a region, there's a lot of activity going on. A lot of immigration laws have recently changed. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
It's always tough following what's the changes that are happening in immigration in Saudi, because the way we hear about it is initially from newspaper, and then we go reach out to the ministries through contacts, and we reach out to different ministries, and then they heard about it exactly like us, and there's no details, and the clients are all excited. They read it somewhere, so we need to give details, but yet we don't have the details, and we need a bit of time to try it. And even when you have the detail, you need to test the cases in order to be able to explain exactly what's the process, what are the requirements, what's the process, the time frame, and to ensure not only the new rules and regulations that will affect current employees, it's also the new type of visa where Saudi is opening up, not with a golden visa, with more of the premium residencies, where it has certain benefit for foreign national, and it's a challenge that we face, but the only way to do it, manage expectation with the client, have a close relationship with the authority. Certain ministries in Saudi, like the Ministry of Investment, Ministry of Commerce, are better into communicating via email. Other ministries are not that great yet, but it's getting better, I'd say. Digitalization in Saudi, it's really moving at a fast pace.
Yeah, I think I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I don't want to pick a country and get it wrong, but they were saying some updates still come by post. So it could take a long time before everyone even receives the notification. Yeah. But yeah, I guess, you guys have mentioned changing laws. You got miscommunicate or lack of communication often in certain jurisdictions. But Sharina, I mean, with every threat, there's an opportunity. So what would you say, what opportunities do you see in relation to how technology could be leveraged to improve keeping up to date with changing laws?
So I always say data is powerful, and the more data you have, the better you can proactively prepare your client. Just for example, in the US, they just raised their fees by almost 60%, and they hadn't raised the fees in 8 years. And
Was that
so
a bingo? Sorry to interrupt. We have a bingo.
We have a bingo!
Louise.
Bingo! It's okay, you can just yell bingo.
Yeah, feel free to yell bingo at any time.
We'll go back on track. So in the US, they increased the fees by 60%, which had a huge impact on our clients' budget, right? Because they usually set their budget the prior year for that fiscal year, and then they had to explain to their budgeting office why all of a sudden the fees were going to go up. And so what we do is we data gather for them, we benchmark, we tell them what their competitors are doing in terms of what fees are they paying. So for example, are you going to continue to pay the premium processing fee of $2,800, right? Or are you going to decide to just, let the application sit for a few months because it's not going to impact anything? Also looking at, do you continue to pay for dependents, right? Should you continue to pay for the dependents? And so what I've been doing is running reports and creating business cases for them on how they should manage their budget and what they should do with all the ever-changing laws that are happening. Also, there tends to be a lot of turnover right now in the HR folks that I work with, and that's where I find a lot of non-compliance because they're continually training. And so what I tell them is, let's work on some process maps that's really easy for a new person to come in and learn. And then we also have, we do a lot of videos Because in the immigration world in the US, there's so many acronyms, I-9, AOS, and you get really lost. And even the best HR or global mobility manager, they still don't know what all these words mean. And so we do a lot of short videos, we do a lot of podcasts, we do a lot of LinkedIn Lives, just to educate our clients about the global immigration landscape. I think also, you need to know your audience, right? So you need to know your HR folks and how adaptable are they to change, okay? So whenever there's a change in the law, which happens a lot in the US, in their mind, it means increased workload, right? I have to do more work. And so what I do, I feel my role is to take that workload off of them. And I'll tell you later some of the automation tools we've used to really help our global mobility managers focus on what they need to focus on and offload a lot of the tasks to us.
Great. That's a nice segue into our next threat. So threat number 2, if we can get the slides up again, please, is around technological developments outpacing regulation. And I speak to lawyers pretty regularly. At Centura, we have a network around the world. I'm also on the analytics committee at Ayla, and we've run a number of surveys where we've been asking people their thoughts on AI, and are they using it, and how do they feel about it? And I was a little bit surprised because, most people seem to be excited by it, but there is a significant proportion of people who fear it in 2 different ways. So one of them is they're scared of it and they think it's going to replace their jobs or, cause major disruption. And the second kind of key response that we saw was people are scared of it and think because it's scary, we're going to keep well away from it. We don't need it. We don't want to get involved in it. And I think both of those are pretty much negative. It's kind of a threat. It's a risk. I mean, if you guys were in the opening talk yesterday that Francis was giving, it's a case of it's inevitable that AI is going to be massively impactful. So we need to be working together to see how can we leverage it to use it as a tool to improve service. So we're talking about technology now. That isn't just AI. There are lots of other technologies too. So the next poll question that we have is, can you please all rate your organization's adoption of new technologies on a scale from 1 to 5? So 1 being very low, 5 being high. So how do you guys adopt technology in your firms today? Oh, got some confident people. Oh, it's changed. Okay, so most people are kind of sitting at around 3 in the middle. So that's kind of the answer where you're not sure, you don't want to say you're too good, and you're nervous to say you're not good. But it looks like we've got 11% of people at 5. But it kind of shows how, there is a bit of nervousness around technology. Everyone knows we need it. There are so many efficiencies, but there's still a long way to go. So, Shireen, I'm going to come to you first this time.
Sure.
So how do we shift this kind of narrative of fear to view technology as a valuable tool?
So in my firm and my team, I always talk about the growth mindset, and the speaker yesterday talked about it as well. And I think the word I always use is yet. I haven't learned it yet, right? And I think when you have that attitude with your team, with your clients, and you understand that it is change management is hard. Changing your toothpaste brand is hard, right? Like changing anything is hard. And so you have to manage that change, and you have to be supportive, and you have to understand that there will be user error, right? And how do you mitigate the user error? And I'll just give you some examples of what we've done at WR Immigration. So when I came in 5 years ago, we had our own platform that we built on Salesforce. And I saw that there was a lot of processing mail. We get hundreds of pieces of mail every week. And so we created a bot named Rosie. And Rosie, our bot, is the most wonderful team member ever. She doesn't complain, she just does her work. And so what she does is every single piece of mail is scanned to Rosie. Rosie reads it, and then Rosie sends an email to the client, the Foreign National, letting them know. We get the mail at 4. By 6 p.m., Rosie's already sent the email. We tell them, please log into your portal. Your receipt notice is there. And it's minimized the number of questions that the global mobility managers always have to ask, or getting asked, right? They always come to their desk and ask. And I think that when you start thinking about that, we saved 8 hours of time of one of our mail clerks, and we actually shifted their role to more of a client-facing service role. And so when you think of AI, don't be afraid of it, okay? It's simply automation. The mundane tasks that you normally have someone do, let's have the bots do it, right? And let's focus on the people. And another example is compliance. So for the Department of Labor, bingo word, by the way, Department of Labor, we have to post notices to let them know that we're sponsoring U.S. workers. And what we did was you're allowed to do an electronic posting. We actually created a widget where we actually could post it on our client's internet. And as long as we meet all the, safety protocols and stuff, we post it, we take it down, we manage the files, we do everything. And so I remember telling one of the global mobility managers what we do and what we offer, and she almost started to cry because she was spending so much time doing a lot of this type of work. The other bot I want to talk about is our bot, Ray. And so as Immigration Counsel, we got a lot of requests for assessments, and it's always fast. I need it now. I need to know whether we should hire this person. And we built in a little bit of AI into Ray. And what Ray does is Ray will ask questions. What country are they from? Have they held an H-1B visa before? And it'll do a quick analysis. From Mexico, can qualify for a TN and also an H-1B. But the attorney is still behind the scenes doing the full analysis, right? But when people want quick answers, and we can have the bot do it, then we do that. And I think when you think about AI automation, you're not going to be replaced by AI. Come on, we have soft skills. We're charming. We have all these things that we do that a bot can't do. And I think you should really look at it as, how can I enhance the way I work and really save time so that I can go home to my kids at 5 o'clock or watch, my kids' sporting event. And I think if you think about it in that direction, you're headed in the right place.
Are there any risks of retention in relation to Rosie and Ray? If another firm sends them some flowers?
Oh my God, yeah. When Rosie got sick, my team was so sad because all of a sudden they had to start manually entering all the data into our system. So when Rosie's sick, but I will tell you this, when we first introduced Rosie, the complaints I heard every day, what is this new process? Why do we have to do it? And then I fast forward 6 months later, they love Rosie. So just think about it. It takes time for change to happen.
Absolutely. I want to add something about AI has been there as it's automation, but AI is just a fancy word that we're using nowadays to explain, because it's been over the past 10 years going, the machine capacity is like 10x time, tenfold every year. So we had the classification revolution where your phone now can identify a picture can read your email as well, can translate. And can identify a picture. That's the revolution. Now, since November 2022, we had the ChatGPT, where the generative revolution of AI, where not only the machine will generate new content or new image or new text or translate or write you something that you were looking for. Now that we're over the next 5 years, or like 5 or 10 years, you're looking at what we call artificial capable intelligence, where the machine not only will generate stuff, but will do things on different time horizon. So it will be able to talk to other AI systems. But this will take time because it's still new. We need the government, which is going to take a lot of time for certain jurisdiction to be there. But eventually, everybody slowly, when the technology, because now we're all testing, and as I think Conley, you were the one who's mentioning, you don't want to be the first adapter, you want to be the second, but you don't want to be the last one, because you're going to miss the train of the technology. Because yes, there are threats. There's privacy issue, there's data protection, job security, but we will change. Data security.
Bingo!
Bingo.
Right there, bingo.
Maria's got bingo.
Maria's got bingo.
So we got bingo there. So I think it's something that, as you were mentioning, it's like, think about it as a tool that will help you. It will be your personal intelligence that will help you, guide you, and make your job easier, and you become more efficient, and you can focus on other stuff, on your family, and also how to service your customer better.
Yeah, patience is key. I mean, a lot of this technology is new. It's going to take time to adopt, time to get used to and get right. And I just kind of had a phrase come to mind. They say the early bird gets the worm, but the second mouse gets the cheese. So, but there's lots of other technology. It's not just AI. And Nihat, you've got an interesting anecdote around some sort of technological developments that came in the Netherlands. Everyone thought, oh no, it's the end of immigration lawyers.
True,
But it didn't happen. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, and before I answer that, I wanted to mention that we opened an office last year in Bonn, in Germany.
Bingo, we're trying to tell you.
Yeah, a good point. So the Dutch authorities are very tech aware. So 12, 13 years ago, they opened up the whole system for online applications, and they made this process very, very simplified, that you just uploaded the passport and you entered a signature of the employer, and then they would approve your applications in 2 to 3 weeks. So as immigration lawyers, you'd be like, we will be all going to lose our job, because if the clients can do this themselves, why would they need us? And then they obviously, we found an opportunity because the application process became automated and simplified, but then they attached the rights and duties of a recognized sponsorship. The employer needed now to have lists and checklists and everything available, asking a lot of questions when they would do an inspection. So our advisory work may even, or instead of just finding simple application, we now started to give audits to clients. So as this threat became for our firm extra work in providing trainings to clients, in appointing them to be instructors on the right and duties as employers. So yeah, we turned it into something positive, I believe, and I think also coming to your point. So we will use it. It will be more automatic. I think for the future, we may simply need to train our staff to use it even more efficiently. So that would be my point.
Yeah, it's all a mindset. So you've got the right mindset, you can find opportunities anywhere, which is the whole theme of this panel. So that brings us on to our third threat, which is partner ecosystems and data security. So I guess I'll hand over to Faisal to explain this. I mean, your clients have a lot of multi-jurisdictional needs. I mean, the whole purpose of Euro, I guess, is to bring together immigration, DSPs to collaborate, work together. But do you think there's a kind of a lack of a cohesive, efficient technological ecosystem to enable this? I mean, what kind of challenges are you seeing?
Well, we have different challenges when it comes to the ecosystem. So, for example, when we're talking about the data security and privacy, let's talk about our direct corporate client. We work with a lot of American financial institutions, and in order to comply with their post-COVID, with their data security, we had to implement the ISO 27001, which is related to information security. And for a company that's a medium-sized company, that we're not a big company, it's not a cheap investment. Yet we had to do it because not one client asked for it. We had like a number of clients that asked for it. And to obtain it is expensive, and to maintain it. And the hardest part, I would say, not the hardware, is to try to change the mentality of the people on how to manage data and how not to share data, how to share it. Then we come into working with global immigration partners and law firms and partners, where every partner has their own system, case management system, and we are sometimes asked to use their system, the team. So we work with, let's say, 15 partners. Our team will have to learn 15 systems and have to be able to get support regarding 15 systems. That's one of the challenges that we face. And in some cases, we opted even to go very old school, where you send an encrypted email with an attachment, password protected attachment in one email, and followed by another email. The password will follow in another email. Is it efficient? No. Is it secure? Yes. So this is a challenge, and a company like Centura, I would think, will be able to connect us all in a way, or someone will be able to connect all these. But still, you fall into the data security, and I'm sharing my data with the third party. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge, yeah. And definitely, with every challenge, there are opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I think data is one of the biggest. Data security is one of the biggest fears that most people have when it comes to using technology, especially in immigration. You're dealing with a lot of personal data, passports, and so on. I mean, Trina, how do you see this? What are some proactive measures that you could recommend to the audience to kind of safeguard against these risks?
Well, I saw mentioned ISO certification 27001, which we're currently doing now, and we realize how disjointed we were in terms of we have so many different offices, we were doing it all differently, and really examining like how do we streamline everything. So we're doing that. Making sure you use a document management system, like just make sure you have, we use Box at our firm, and it's easy for us to share information and provide access and limit access controls to certain clients. We also use Zendesk, it's a ticketing system. And, oh yeah, bingo, right
Another bingo
there.
for Louise, 2 prizes.
Bingo, two
And another
bingos right
bingo
here.
for Geordie.
So we use Zendesk, and with Zendesk, it's a ticketing system. And so internally for our staff, it's also important that you make sure that you train your staff and you provide them the customer service with the technology to do their job, which in return helps the client at the end. And then data minimization and retention, just keep what you need. Yay, another bingo right there. Keep what you need. Don't be a hoarder, okay? It's okay, just let it go. Let it go. And it's better for you to not have the data because then there can't be a breach if you don't have the data there that's necessary. And just be vigilant, right? Be vigilant. I think one of the things is you give people access to your platform, but you need to also remove the access when they leave. And you have to be vigilant in removing the access.
Yeah, that's a good reminder. I think a lot of people forget when people leave the organization how quickly you need to be removing that access and be timely with it, because that could be a major breach. Okay, so we'll go to another poll. So,
Oh, yay!
another bingo.
Another bingo. Another bingo here too.
So, what would you say is the biggest barrier to creating a more secure and integrated partner ecosystem for immigration services? So we've got 5 options: technological limitations, cost, complexity of global immigration, regulatory restrictions, or something else. Might be a complicated question. Some slow results to come in. Seems like complexity of global immigration is going to be the winner. We'll keep an eye on it. I mean, so how do we overcome that? I mean, it's a tough question. I'm going to throw it to all the panelists. How do we overcome the complexity of global immigration? How do we bring a unified way of, working together?
I would say quickly, have a unified platform, but don't only rely on that platform, but work with local experts. So I think, being here, talk to your immigration experts here and make sure that the information is verified, checked by your local partner. I would say that, yeah, that combination.
Faisal, any thoughts?
Sorry, I missed the
How can we kind of create a more integrated solution for, partners to work together to cover global immigration?
to have a better, I think it's the challenge is, as I said, the data security and privacy, and having a trusted, centralized, or an API system that we can talk, different systems can talk to each other and share documents securely. That would be a solution. But again, with immigration is very sensitive as well, the data. And even ourselves, we had to sign, and I mentioned it at another panel, we had to sign on that we're not going to use any AI technology while processing cases to our client. So because the client are still scared, not really comfortable, not scared, let's say not really comfortable with the technology, and it's still new, but things will change, definitely we will have a solution, like you're trying with Centura, you're working on a solution for that. So it's something that, there's an opportunity, as I said, if there's a challenge, there's a opportunity there.
Yeah, the point on clients is interesting because we're seeing quite a divide in how they view AI in particular. So, first we've given that example where a client said, we don't want you to use AI in any of our cases. You've got to agree to that. But then there are a lot of other clients I've spoken to. I say clients, companies I've spoken to. So I've spoken to Unilever. Who else was there? There's quite a few that, bingo, we've got another bingo, Kunle
right
at the
here
front.
up in the front.
And they've all said that they expect all of their providers to use AI now, because in most companies, people are using AI on a daily basis. They're using it for efficiency, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's a note taker like Fireflies. And those efficiencies come with, some of the discussion has been around, should we get cheaper fees based on that. But we don't have time to go into that today. But there's a whole debate around that. Okay, so we're going to quickly go into a lightning round now because we only have 5 minutes left. So first question is for Nihat. If you could change one immigration law overnight, what would it be?
Can I answer too? I would say the blue card directive. We change it to a blue card regulation that would like really quite be impacted at attracting international talent into Europe. Now it's very fragmented. And second one, I would say allowing dual citizenships more often, so about naturalization on your cards.
Oh, another
Another
bingo
bingo.
right here.
Okay, next question for Chirina. Do you think AI in immigration is revolutionary or overhyped?
You know, I think it's like what I said before. It can be overhyped, like just going to all these panels and you hear AI, and I go to all these law and tech panels. But I think what you have to do is think about it as it's going to change the way you work, change the way that your clients, you're able to provide services. So I really do think it is revolutionary. And we have to join that revolution. Another bingo over there, and another bingo
Two
over there.
bingos here. Fun.
Yeah.
Bingo in the middle as well?
And I come from, the internet wasn't around when I first started my practice. I was using, you know, I had to use a wheel writer typewriter. I'm dating myself, I had to use a fax machine. We had like duplicating, like you had to put like the different colors and stuff when we were preparing the paperwork. And I still remember when, you know, the internet, like what's the internet, right? And so as you think about AI, that's what we thought of the internet when it first came out, right? And so you just have to think about it like change, revolutionary.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an episode of, I think it's Letterman, where he's interviewing Bill Gates when the internet was coming out, and Bill Gates is saying, "Oh, it's going to be great. You know, you can listen to baseball games on the internet. You can track what's happening in the match." And Letterman's like, "What? Haven't you heard of the radio?" So yeah, we gotta move with the times. Okay, Faisal. Yep.
Yes,
Yeah,
keep
you
going.
keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
You can bingo all
You can
all
get
day.
bingo twice, 3 times, just keep going. We have lots of prizes.
Very important question. Okay, so Faisal, in the next 5 years, what do you think will be the biggest game changer in immigration?
I think, you know, some people will disagree, I'm sure, like everyone else, but I think it's the adaptation of AI, whatever form of AI, by the government, immigration providers. But how are they going to adopt the AI and how fast this thing going to move within the 5, 10 years down the line? And we have to emphasize, like, okay, it's nice. It's like we have to do, how do you say this, responsible deployment of AI to make sure that you emphasize to maximize the benefit while mitigating the risk and the ethical concern that we all have with using a machine or AI or something new that's generating and doing stuff behind the scene.
Okay, great. We have 1 minute left. So any questions from the audience? Oops, Sophie's got a question. And Kunle?
How would you consider the impact of remote work on the situation?
Panelists?
Yeah, bingo. Ask a question so you could win the bingo. You know, I've had remote workers for a long time, even before COVID happened. And I just thought when I was just practicing alone, I had to minimize costs. And so I was looking to a lot of technology solutions and staffing. I had to look outside of the San Francisco Bay Area because the salaries were so high. And I think that with technology, we can do more with remote working. I hear a lot of the people say like training is hard because you're not in front of, you know, you can't see the person. But I embrace remote work. And our firm is actually 90% remote. We only have one person coming into the office, and that person is the one that has to file everything, because in the US, everything's still paper.
And I guess that's why employer of record has exploded, because people don't want to set up an entity to hire a handful of people in different jurisdictions. But that comes with its own complications, as we touched upon. Kunle, you had a question?
Also talk about fees. Thank you. Yeah. fees as well. I know a lot of us are being squeezed by the RMCs because they say the company is cutting costs, particularly when it comes to immigration. Do we consider that a threat as well, that it's like a race to the bottom now? How do we now manage the expectation to at least have fees that are reasonable at the end of the day?
A good question. I would say, if I may answer that. So, with the automation, the workload may decrease, right? So, and I think quite often our partners work with fixed fees, right? So if you keep working with fixed fees, it could be very difficult for. So I want to explain about sorry. But the question was, what are you going to do with the fees, right? So yeah.
Push the race to the bottom.
Yeah. So if you decrease the fees, the advisory work will also still be there. So this was one of my examples, is that yes, because of the automation, you'll probably need less staff or less hours in filing the application. But we see that our clients, they say, okay, thank you for filing, but please help me with other stuff. And the problem with decreasing fees or having fixed fees, you go to the race. It's a race, but you would like your clients to be compliant. So I think the advisory work will increase.
I think it was touched upon on the Envoy Immigration Day as well, where people were saying, well, the cost of technology.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say it.
Being able to manage
Because,
it.
yeah, we're reducing fees to process the stuff, but at the same time, you will need to hire technology expert to manage the technology, because it's going to become your new generator of the information instead of the human. But so you're saving in one place, but when you're investing on the other side. So
Exactly. Maria's got a question, I think.
I want to add exactly what Pedro was saying now. And the human filtering is also like that. It has to become more expensive, because it's not like what it used to be. Like you would give advice, but very easy advice, because you just have a law and you just explain what the law said. But now that you have the law is there by AI and it's given for free to everybody, and you just have to filter and think of complex procedures and come back with a creative solution to your clients. That must be great.
Absolutely. No, we, for example, in Saudi, we moved a lot of the application in the immigration world, moved digital. Like I think like a lot of jurisdiction during COVID, and it kept on being digital. Previously, we had to go send someone to submit a file, person, and no post even. Now you don't send a person, like a PRO, what we call them PRO, to the ministry unless there's an issue and you need to explain it or to fix it. So it makes our work easier, but you still have to explain. Okay, people say, oh, I can do it myself. Okay, go try. Use the portal. Good.
Also, how much do you pay the person when in the old times you would just go and file, which was a very easy task, and how much do you...
Now you have a senior person doing that. You cannot just use a delivery person to deliver a document. Now you will send somebody who's senior, and he's getting paid at least 3 or 4 times more than the previously you were paying that person. So it's changed. As we said, what happened when using technology, it's creating a new job, and it's changing the industry. So it's not going to take away our job, but it might change the way of doing things, make it more efficient.
Yeah, there's lots of debates to be had, but I think we're out of time. So I just want to say thank you to our panelists. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
And playing bingo.
And playing bingo.